So in this video, I'm going to show you how to read the yarn labels, what all of this gibberish means if you are not familiar. One of my very favorite yarns ever. This is Lion Brand Ferris Wheel. So a lot of times specific patterns will call for certain types or brands of yarn, and that's the main label. You'll find the actual brand, but then underneath the brand label, there's different types of yarn. So this is their Ferris Wheel line. This will also tell you these numbers, how much is in here. So this, the ounce or the grams, this is how much this whole entire skein of yarn weighs. So how much is in here and how many yards that is, or meters. So you're going to want to make sure that when you're reading your pattern and you're buying your yarn, to make sure you buy enough of your yarn, however they have it in the pattern, whether it's by the weight or the yardage, to make sure that you have enough for your project. This will also tell you what it's made out of. So this one happens to be 100% acrylic. This one is a medium size 4 weight. So basically when you have different yarn types, the thickness of the yarn will determine that number right there. So it can go from 0 to 7, and the smaller the number is, the thinner the yarn is going to be. And the higher, the 5, 6, and 7s are going to be those really thick, chunky yarns that you might use for blankets or something. And then the really thin ones would be for like lace or something really fine and delicate like that. I tend to gravitate towards these medium weights, but that's what this number is right here. And that'll determine the thickness of your yarn. You also have this little size swatch area. So this is going to be, for knitters, it's going to show you which hook sizes or which needle size is recommended, and for crocheters, which hook size. This is just a recommendation. The pattern that you're going to be using, whatever you're making, is going to call for maybe a specific size of hook or needle. But this is the one that they recommend, which is for crochet, that's a H8 or a 5 millimeter. And they have a size gauge here. So what I actually do for my patterns is I'll usually tell you which yarn, which hook size, and then after you get to a certain point in the beginning of your project, it should measure a certain size, and that'll let you know that your tension is correct. You can also do a little size swatch here for this, where it would be a 4" by 4" square. For crochet, I don't know how to knit, so I'm just going to go off of the crochet stuff. But basically, if you're making 14 stitches and 20 rows, using this size hook, it should equal 4 by 4. Now that's going to depend too on the pattern that you're using, what hook size it calls for, and this and that. So definitely check your pattern for that. It also, all these little symbols right here are the wash instructions. This is how to care for this particular yarn type. I will tell you from personal experience, I think that once you have worked your crochet piece up into a garment or, you know, a hat or whatever, I personally only recommend hand washing and air drying, specifically because machines are so rough on things and the stitches tend to get a little bit wonky or maybe frayed if you put it in the machine. But you can, like certain things, you just have to machine wash. But these little symbols will tell you what that means. So it'll tell you the temperature that you should wash it in. This triangle actually means, it stands for bleach, so this has an X through it, so you shouldn't use any bleach on this. This is for the dryer, and the 2 little dots mean medium, 1 dot means low, and 3 dots would mean high. If it has an X through it, that means don't put it in the dryer. This one, if it'll have like a little hand symbol in the water, that means hand wash. This means not to iron it. That one's pretty self-explanatory. This one I actually had to look up. This is for dry cleaning. So the little circle with the letter inside, that will let you know if it's safe for dry cleaning. And the A means it's safe for any or all solvents at the dry cleaner. And then here, it'll tell you the color name, which is sprinkles, and then the lot number. This is also really important if you're making a project with multiple skeins of yarn, because you want to make sure that it's from the same dye batch. Sometimes the colors might be slightly different from different batches, and it will turn up noticeably in your project if you're not getting the same dye lot number. So for example, the ponchos that I make, I use 3 skeins of this to make the poncho. So you want to make sure they're all that same dye lot number of the same color. But that's pretty much all there is to reading a yarn label. If I miss anything, let me know in the comments. Oh, one other thing too, sometimes they'll have a little project. So if you take your label off, on the inside it actually has a little project for you sometimes. So not all of them do, most of them do. Some of them might have knitting projects, some of them might have crochet. So anyway, that is how to read a yarn label if you are not familiar, and I hope you guys learned something new.